A German Tiger could kill the Soviet vehicle facing it from around 2,200 yards. The Soviet vehicle had to get much closer to return the favor. Its crews reported needing roughly 875 yards to defeat a Tiger from the front. And when the target finally entered that range, the Soviet gun could move only 10 degrees left or right, 20 degrees total. That vehicle was the SU-85. It was not designed to win a fair duel with a Tiger. It was designed to make sure the duel was never fair in the first place. The first useful proof came not from a drawing board but from a combat report. The 1440th Self-Propelled Artillery Regiment had already learned what a poor anti-tank tool looked like. Formed in April 1943 with SU-122s and SU-76s, it had fought hard enough to lose 6 SU-122s irrecoverably while claiming 19 German tanks knocked out, 15 burned out, and 3 self-propelled guns. Then the regiment re-equipped with the SU-85. On October 15, 1943, it entered the Pyatakhatka operation, part of the Soviet drive southwest from bridgeheads over the Dnieper toward Kryvyi Rih. Pyatakhatka itself, a rail junction roughly 35 miles beyond the river, fell on October 19 to the 5th Guards Tank Army, cutting important lines toward Dnipropetrovsk. By November 1, the 1440th had been transferred to the 7th Mechanized Corps. By December 1, it was serving in that corps under the 2nd Ukrainian Front. This was not a laboratory comparison. The regiment had used the older self-propelled guns, spent them in combat, and then received the new one while the campaign was still moving. By the time a Soviet commission examined the regiment's experience, the arithmetic was simple. 5 Su-85s lost, 18 German tanks claimed, 6 of those identified as Tigers. That last number needs caution. Soviet wartime reports sometimes use Tiger too broadly. Through dust, smoke, distance, and a narrow optic, a late Panzer IV with side skirts could look heavier than it was. No matched German loss return in the source confirms those 6 identifications, so the safe statement is the one the regiment actually left behind. It claimed 18 German tanks and identified 6 as Tigers. The commission could verify something else directly. Every surviving Z-85 in the regiment carried hits on its front armor. Some dents reached about 1 inch deep. The plate itself was only about 1 3/4 inches thick. The damaged areas were welded over. The vehicles went back into service. That is a very small margin. But for a machine whose enemy could kill it from far beyond its own preferred range, the important fact was that a margin existed at all. The crews also wrote down the distances they trusted. Against a Tiger's front, roughly 650 to 875 yards. Against the side, roughly 300 to 400. The flank shot was worth almost twice the practical range. Those numbers tell you what the Su-85 really was better than any factory brochure could. It was a weapon whose success depended on where it was waiting before the German tank appeared. And that raises the question that matters. Why did the Red Army build a tank destroyer that needed the battlefield arranged in its favor? The answer is hidden in another number: 17 days. On August 8, 1943, State Defense Committee Decree No. 3892 SS authorized the Su-85. Series production began at Uralmash in Sverdlovsk on August 25. 17 days from authorization to a production line. That sounds like miraculous development until you look at what was actually new. Almost nothing. The running gear came from the T-34. The casemate layout came from the SU-122. The engine was the familiar 493 horsepower V12 diesel. The suspension, transmission, and much of the factory knowledge already belonged to vehicles Soviet workers knew how to build. The new centerpiece was the 85mm D5 gun. Even that weapon came from an existing family. So the achievement was not creating a new tank destroyer from nothing. It was integrating a new anti-tank capability into an industrial system already moving at wartime speed. The Red Army saved months by refusing to wait for an ideal design. And the price of those saved months was that old limitations traveled into the new machine. To understand why the gun was worth that compromise, go back a little further. By 1943, the Tiger had turned the Soviet 76mm problem into a range problem. The Tiger's front hull and turret carried about 4 inches of armor, with even more around the mantlet. At useful combat distances, the Tiger's 88mm could defeat Soviet armor before the standard Soviet 76 could reliably defeat the Tiger. The Red Army had already tried a bigger caliber on a mobile chassis. The S-122 carried a 122mm M30S howitzer. The caliber looked impressive. The ballistics did not. The M30S descended from a field howitzer built to throw shells at fortifications, not to track moving tanks with flat direct fire. Its projectile left the barrel at roughly 1,100 feet per second. Its practical direct fire range with armor-piercing ammunition was only about 300 yards. Its two-piece ammunition and screw breech held practical fire to about 2 rounds a minute, and the SU-122 carried the same roughly 1 3/4-inch frontal armor that the Tiger's 88 could treat as almost irrelevant. A high-explosive anti-tank round existed by May 1943, but the primitive warhead and fuse made results unreliable. More importantly, the whole firing process was wrong for the problem. A moving tank does not wait while a slow shell crosses the distance. A crew under direct fire does not get unlimited time to load two-piece ammunition. And a vehicle with less than 2 inches of frontal armor cannot comfortably close to 300 yards against an 88mm gun. The SU-122's failure was not that 122mm was too small. It was that caliber alone was the wrong measurement. Velocity, trajectory, loading speed, and engagement distance mattered more. So Soviet designers stopped asking a howitzer to behave like an anti-tank gun. They looked for velocity instead. The weapon they found had been built to shoot at the sky. The 85mm 52K anti-aircraft gun of 1939 had the flat trajectory and muzzle energy needed to reach aircraft at altitude. Those are also useful qualities when the target is armored steel. And the Red Army had something better than a calculation. It had a captured Tiger. An intact German heavy tank from the Leningrad front was used to establish what the 85mm weapon could actually do. The test results were not vague. At 875 yards, a hit through the Tiger's side opened a breach roughly 14 inches by 9. At 1,600 yards, another side hit still penetrated, entering through a hole around 4.5 inches across and tearing an exit roughly 15 inches wide. Against the lower front plate, about 4 inches thick, the shell penetrated at roughly 100 yards. The entrance was about 6 inches across. The exit was slightly larger, but the upper front at 1,600 yards stopped the shell. The impact drove a dent roughly 1 1/4 inches deep and 5 inches across. That pattern gave the Soviet Commission a usable conclusion. The 85mm armor-piercing shell could defeat the Tiger's side from around WWII 600 yards, and the front from around WWII 100. The Red Army now had a gun that could hurt a Tiger. It did not yet have that gun on something that could keep up with mechanized forces. 2 design bureaus were ordered to solve that part. The schedule left little room for elegance. Between July 25 and August 6, 1943, competing prototypes ran more than 300 miles at the Gorokhovets Proving Grounds and fired more than 300 rounds. A third design dropped out early with serious defects, narrowing the decision to the guns that could actually survive the test program. The competition mattered because the ballistic requirement was already known. The question was no longer whether an 85mm high-velocity gun could threaten a Tiger. The captured tank trials had answered that. The question was which mount could deliver that performance with enough reliability to justify immediate factory disruption. Vasily Grabin's Central Artillery Design Bureau entered the S-18. Fyodor Petrov's Factory No. 9 team at Uralmash entered the D-5, derived from the 52K line. The S-18 had been favored. The trials changed the decision. Petrov's weapon matched the ballistic performance and proved more reliable. The vehicle was accepted on August 7. The decree followed on August 8. Production began on August 25. Now the 17-day number makes sense. The gun had been proven. The whole family already existed. The factory already knew the work. The Soviet Union did not need a perfect tank destroyer. It needed this gun moving now. The first sacrifice was the turret. The SU-85 did not have one. Its gun traversed 10 degrees left and 10 degrees right. If a target appeared outside that 20-degree window, the driver had to turn the entire 32.5-ton vehicle. That takes time. It throws dust. It makes track noise. It moves the hull out of concealment. A turreted tank can react to a threat. The SU-85 had to predict one. The second sacrifice was protection. The front plate remained about 1 3/4 inches thick. The Tiger's 88mm could defeat about 4 inches of angled plate at roughly 1,100 yards and around 3 1/4 inches at 2,200 yards. The SU-85 had less than 2 inches in front of its crew. So the German tank had penetration to spare at the range where the SU-85 was still trying to get close enough to answer. The third sacrifice was visibility. The SU-85 carried 4 men, and the commander also worked the gun sight. A commander looking through a sight is not scanning the battlefield. He is looking into the slice of terrain where the gun already points. That was exactly the wrong place to lose awareness on a vehicle whose survival depended on noticing a threat before the threat noticed it. The trade was not entirely one-sided. The SU-85 kept the T-34 family's mobility. It could reach roughly 34 miles per hour on a road. Internal fuel gave around 175 miles of range, or about 250 with auxiliary tanks. It carried 48 rounds. Its standard BR-365 armor-piercing shell left the muzzle at roughly 2,600 feet per second and could defeat about 4 inches of plate at 100 yards. The BR-365P subcaliber round left at roughly 3,400 feet per second and could defeat about 5.5 inches at 550 yards when the hit was square. Those 2 rounds also reveal why the SU-85 never had one universal kill range. Ammunition type, impact angle, target plate, and distance all changed the answer. The vehicle's paper capability could only become combat capability when the crew matched the right shot to the right piece of armor. Removing the turret also lowered the silhouette. That mattered. For a vehicle that could not afford to be seen first, being harder to see was a form of armor. Its survival method became a sequence: arrive first, use terrain, aim the hull, fire before the enemy understands the position, move before the return shot arrives. Soviet organization reflected that logic. Self-Propelled Artillery Regiments fielded 16 SU-85s in 4 batteries of 4, with a T-34 as the commander's vehicle. The SU-85s were not supposed to lead assaults like ordinary tanks. They were used as anti-tank support for infantry and mechanized forces, covering likely approaches and German counterattacks from chosen positions. The expected engagement band was roughly 550 to 1,100 yards. That band was not arbitrary. At the far end, the standard 85mm armor-piercing rounds still had useful penetration against many targets, while concealment and prepared ground could help the Soviet crew survive. At the near end, the sub-caliber BR-365P could deliver its best performance, but the price was obvious. The closer the Su-85 moved, the less time remained between detection and a German return shot. Battery placement therefore became part of the weapon. 4 vehicles in a battery could cover different approaches, but each still had a narrow mechanical arc. If commanders chose the ground well, those arcs could overlap roads, gaps, reverse slopes, or likely counterattack routes. If the enemy came from the wrong direction, the entire battery might need to pivot hulls and reveal positions. Inside that 550 to 100-yard band, the gun mattered. Outside it, the German range advantage grew. Inside it, the crew still needed the correct angle. And outside the 20-degree arc, the entire Soviet vehicle had to move. The engineering forced the doctrine. Ambush was not a clever trick crews discovered after the fact. Ambush was the machine's geometry written as a tactical manual. The first regiment to receive the 85 was the 1435th Self-Propelled Artillery Regiment. By October 2, 1943, it was attached to the 68th Army. That means the vehicle went from August authorization to August production to an operational regiment by early October. The new vehicle had reached war only about 5 weeks after series production began. That speed compressed design, training, doctrine, and combat feedback into the same season. Factory decisions made in August were being tested by crews under fire in October, with no long institutional pause between them. There was no long period for the proving ground numbers to become comfortable habits at the front. The front corrected them almost immediately, returned to the 1440th. Its crews said the Tiger front was a 650 to 875-yard problem. The proving ground had said roughly 100. The crews said that the side was a 300 to 400-yard problem. The proving ground had said roughly 600. About 200 yards disappeared from both answers. Nothing about the gun had changed. Everything around the gun had. A proving ground gives a known distance, a controlled target, a prepared crew, a measured shot, and armor presented in test conditions. A battlefield gives motion, uncertain range, uneven ground, angle, smoke, dust, stress, and incoming fire. It also gives an Su-85 commander who is trying to command while looking through the sight. The missing 200 yards were the cost of reality, and they were removed from a margin that had never been large. Colonel Fyodor Katkov, commander of the 7th Mechanized Corps, still called the Su-85 the most effective means available for fighting German heavy tanks. That judgment matters because it came with no illusion that the vehicle was sufficient. He was not rejecting the Su-85. He was describing the distance between an emergency tool and the tool his corps actually needed. Then he described what he wanted next: thicker frontal armor, and a gun capable of defeating a Tiger at least 600 to 2,200 yards. His crews were reporting about 875 from the front. That request is the most precise verdict on the Su-85. It worked, but it worked under conditions the commander could not always promise. Then the Panther made those conditions narrower. The Panther's upper glacis was a little over 3 inches thick. The number sounds smaller than the Tiger's 4-inch front. The angle changed everything. At 55 degrees from vertical, The plate forced a projectile through a line-of-sight path of about 5.5 inches of steel. The slope also made a poor bite more likely. The SU-85 standard armor-piercing round was a roughly 4-inch performer at 100 yards. Closing the range recovered velocity. It did not erase that geometric gap. The Panther's side remained vulnerable. The upper front did not. So against a Tiger, ambush improved the odds. Against a Panther, flank access became the condition that made the shot possible. That mattered because Germany built far more Panthers than Tigers. The source gives 1,347 Tigers across the war. It gives 6,040 Panthers with more than 2,000 built in 1944 alone. The SU-85 had been rushed into production to answer German heavy armor. It could threaten the rarer Tiger under the right conditions. The more numerous Panther could present a frontal plate the 85mm could not reliably solve. What remained were the Panther's weaker sides and other favorable target areas. That narrowed the doctrine again. A vehicle already dependent on ambush now needed an ambush that produced flank exposure. With a turret, a crew might react to a crossing target. With 20 degrees of traverse, the SU-85 needed the enemy to drive through the patch of ground the Soviet gun was already covering. That is possible. It is not something a corps commander can guarantee. The battlefield had moved faster than the emergency solution. The 1440th continued with the 7th Mechanized Corps through Ukraine. The Corps helped take Kirovograd on January 8, 1944 and received the Order of the Red Banner on January 15. In March it fought through the Uman-Botoshani operation. Novokrinka fell on March 17. The Corps received the honorific Novokrinka the next day. Pervomaisk fell on March 22. Through that advance, the Su-85 did what its design allowed. It guarded flanks. It punished counterattacks. It used prepared positions when it could, but by 1944, its reason for existing was being squeezed from both sides. In the spring, the T-34-85 entered mass production. It carried an 85mm class gun on the same basic chassis family, but with a full 360-degree turret. The Su-85's fixed casemate was no longer buying unique firepower. A tank destroyer built from a medium tank chassis has to justify losing the turret. Once the medium tank carried comparable gun power, that argument became weak. The next Soviet self-propelled gun restored it. The Su-100 mounted the 100mm D-10S. Its origin repeated the pattern. The D-5 had descended from anti-aircraft artillery. The D-10 came from the B-34, a 100mm naval anti-aircraft weapon. Again, a gun designed to reach upward supplied the velocity needed to punch forward. This time the performance matched Katkov's request. The Su-100 could defeat about 5 inches of vertical plate at 2,200 yards. Against the Panther's sloped glacis, the armor that defined the Su-85's limitation, the Su-100 could penetrate at roughly 1,600 yards. The answer was no longer get closer. It was more gun. There was still a production gap. In September 1944, Uralmash began building the Su-85M. The improved Su-100 hull with the older 85mm gun. It brought thicker frontal armor, a commander's cupola, and 60 rounds instead of 48. 315 were built. The hull had improved. The vision problem had improved. The ammunition load had improved. But the gun was still the old answer. The Su-85M was therefore a transitional machine in the most literal sense. The next hull had arrived before the next gun was available in sufficient numbers. Production of the Su-85 ended in November 1944. In about 15 months, Uralmash built 2,650. The vehicle had done what emergency weapons often do. It arrived before the complete answer. It gave Soviet formations a weapon that could threaten the Tiger months before a stronger system was ready. And its crews learned exactly how narrow that advantage was. Inside the range, on the flank, with the hull already pointed toward the place the enemy was about to appear. 17 days bought the Red Army a gun that could kill a Tiger. What those 17 days did not buy was room for error.